Welcome back. I'm Tarn.
Hi, I'm Laura.
And today we are talking about...
What would you do in this situation? So Tarn, I'm going to let you take the reins and share with us all what you would do in a specific situation. Or tell us, set the scene for the situation.
Okay. I think one of the worst nightmares you could have as a celebrant would be if the actual bride didn't turn up or the groom left.
Yeah.
That has happened. I have had to deal with that situation.
Okay, what happened?
Yeah. It was only a small wedding and the groom arrived. The photographer at the time, she actually came up to me and she said, something doesn't feel right. Something's not right. I said, what do you mean? She said, with the groom, something just doesn't feel right. So I went over to him, and as soon as I saw him, he was just white. He was white as a sheet. And I thought, okay, really need to sort of check this out and see what's happening. So I said, what's wrong? He said, I don't feel good, I don't feel right. One of the family members had decided that they were not going to come to the wedding, which rattled him a bit. And I just knew that, no, something is not right here. So I said to him, okay, let's go and take a seat and, I'll get you some water, sit down. And we had a bit of a chat. I said to him, how do you feel? Do you want to be doing this? And he looked at me and he said, no.
Oh, okay, yep.
Yeah. So right at that moment, I thought, well, okay, he's basically just gone, no, he doesn't want to go ahead with it. And as you know, everyone needs to sign the no legal impediment form. Yep. So I asked him why he didn't want to go ahead with it. He said to me he felt that he'd been pressured to go into this marriage. They hadn't actually been together that long. Mm-hmm. They told me differently. I wasn't to know, but they had been together for certainly, a certain amount of time. And his words were, I just don't want to do this, I'm feeling pressured. And then felt like there was a bit of a flip there where it was like, no, come on, we'll do it, we'll just do it, like there's people here now. But I said no. Mm-hmm. Because he's told me, basically, and as a celebrant, I really had to put that, okay, you are telling me that you are not happy to be going into this of your own free will, so I can't then turn around and go, oh yeah, I'll just forget what he said, don't worry about it, we'll just do it anyway. Yeah. It's not the right thing to do. So he said, well, what do I do? And I went, well, you need to get in your car and go, because the bride's going to be arriving any minute. So I explained to the guests that the wedding won't be taking place today. So very sorry, but thank you, goodbye. They all sort of left. And then the bride turned up. Very hard conversation to have.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Very hard conversation to have. How do you say? Well, she took it well. How can you take it well?
Yeah.
You can't take it well.
How can you share that information? How do you?
I just said, look, I'm really sorry, but he feels that he can't go through with this today. He's not wanting to get married. She said, look, if I could get him back here, could you do it? And I said, no. Yeah. So it was, one of those situations that was very, it wasn't pleasant. But I had to think on my feet, really think on my feet, and go back to my training as well. Okay, this is not going to happen. So I can't run away. I can't go, can someone else deal with this? No, I had to deal with it. That day actually happened, that moment came. So you have to be very calm, cool, collected, and explain. Keep your voice in a nice tone.
We talk about retrospect having real good clarity. If you could go back in time, would you have done anything different with the couple? I think even before, the actual day, were there signs? Do you see it post?
No, and that was the interesting thing. Because I would always reflect, and I did reflect on it. I never saw a sign. I never saw a sign. Like when they met up with me to do the notice of intent to marry form, there was nothing that I could honestly say, oh, there's a bit of a red flag there. I'm not quite sure. There was nothing at all. So on the day, and yet, you know, when I went out and saw him, as soon as I laid eyes on him on the actual day, I knew.
Yeah.
I knew. I was like, this is not going to happen. He's not going into this with his own free will. Something is really wrong. So it's very hard, because if a couple say to you, you know, they've been together we've been together for 3 years, how am I to know?
Yeah, you don't know any different. You have to go based on the information that they're sharing and giving.
And the information they shared and gave me, well, yeah, it was like they have actually been together for quite a while. And I'll always sort of ask the appropriate questions and get more of a, you know, background and they gave me it. So they pretty much rehearsed it pretty well.
Yeah.
But that 3 years was really only 3 months.
Yeah.
So...
But some people can get married. Some people do fall in love very quickly, and 3 months isn't an issue. And I think if you're marrying for the right reasons, it's not going to be an issue.
Yeah.
You are going to be happy and willing to want to get married. I'm kind of hearing like there's some big things that sort of stand out, and it's purely just on the wedding day. So you must have been on your feet quite a bit that day and mind running from the moment, obviously, the photographer's spoken to you. So having that relationship with vendors, for them to be comfortable enough to go, I see something wrong. I need to tell you something. It's not right. Yeah,
no, it was great. Like, she came straight in, and actually the videographer, that crew was there as well. And, you know, they were very, are you okay? I said, yeah, I'm fine. Because really, like, you have to handle it. You have to handle it. I can't just go,
And look, and I'm just interrupting, like, there's no training around this. There is no training around what happens if this happens. What happens if this is the case? What is the steps that, as a celebrant, you need to go through, and you need to check to make sure that you are ticking the boxes and you are operating ethically and under your guidelines to make sure that it is lawful and that the wedding is lawful. And it's a really scary, scary thing to think that one split decision on a moment that is so out of the blue could impact your authorization and your ability to be a celebrant, or possibly even lead to imprisonment. Because if a celebrant acts unlawfully, and we officiate a wedding for a couple that there is no intent, that there is forceful, I was going to say forceful entry, but there's no entry, but they're being forced into being married, and it is not their intention or want to be, we are held accountable for that.
Yeah, that's right.
And we will then take the blame for that, and it can lead to imprisonment for us.
And I wasn't putting my name to that.
Yeah, no, fair enough, because if that had gone through and someone just said to the AG, the Attorney General's department, hey, this person married somebody, and they knew that they didn't want to get married, you could be in prison right now.
And actually that has happened in the past. There was a situation many years ago where I met with a couple, and he was a very elderly gentleman. He didn't realise. He wasn't really of sound mind. You know, I said to the bride-to-be, I think it was a immigration or migration officer, I'm a bit confused there. So there was a third party involved. And I said, look, I'd just like to speak with the gentleman, you know, by himself. And I had a little chat with him, and he didn't realise what was happening. He was like, she's a lovely girl, and, you know, she comes and does my cleaning. And I thought, you don't understand what's going on here. So then when I went back out into the room and said, look, I don't believe that he understands fully what is happening. He doesn't realise that a wedding is going to take place, that he's actually going to be marrying her. And that woof, like that, the young lady flipped and got very upset.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It can happen if you are understanding the ground of what you can and can't do, and it doesn't align with what someone else is intentionally wanting to happen, you're going to ruffle some feathers.
Oh, yeah.
But you have to be strong enough
You
in
do.
this role to be able to put your foot down and say, no, this is the situation. And where it comes down to sound mind, you want to have support to know that that person is of sound mind. So if you've had that conversation and you have gauged that they're not, but the person may be insisting that they are, then there may be other steps by going through with getting GP confirmation and them signing off to say that that person understands what's happening, or a psychologist says that they're understanding what's happening. But there's no guidelines around that.
No.
Our guidelines say that there is intent for somebody to marry, that they are aware that they're wanting to marry someone, that they're over the age of 18, and they're willing. And if there's no understanding of what's actually taking place, we cannot officiate the day.
No. And even like you'll get times on different wedding days where and even not even on the wedding days, but before, if you're doing a rehearsal and they're doing the no legal impediment, like the guys will always joke around going, oh no, I'm being forced into it, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
But that's a joke. Like, when it's a joke, and man, when it's not a joke.
Yeah.
When it's like, whoa, okay, this is really serious. And I think you really do have to be the calming influence and stand your ground and be very firm in what you're saying, but calm.
Yeah. And I'm going to just jump off onto another point, and I think you see me going there maybe, is alcohol at a wedding too. So another big influence in the way that we can actually officiate a day is that if somebody has clarity, that they're not drunk, that they are aware of what's happening and that they can get married. And if and this is a really hard one because it's very subjective. Like, how do you know if somebody is drunk if you've only met them once before, that they're not just overly excited or a little bit, are they drunk, or is it tipsy, or is it...
The only way I firmly believe that we are ever going to know is if we have breathalyzers.
Absolutely, yep.
That's the only way. Because you could turn and say to a person or look at them and go, you know what, I think you're inebriated, intoxicated, drunk, tipsy, all those things you just said. No, I'm not. It's just nerves.
Yeah.
How do you know? How do you know? Unless you've actually got a breathalyzer. How do you know? And look, I'm not in the room. I gauge it. You can tell.
Yeah.
You think you can tell.
Yeah.
Okay, but realistically, again, unless you got that breathalyzer, you don't know. But I'm not going to be in the room with the bridesmaids and the bride when they're getting ready. Have they had a glass of champagne? Probably. You say to them, no alcohol. You can say all that, but who's going to police that?
Yeah.
Like the guys. A wedding many years ago, the guys went out the night before. Now, would I have called the groom drunk at the wedding? No, but he went out the night before.
He was feeling crook from
He was feeling fairly ordinary.
Yeah.
But did I look at him and go, okay, you are drunk, I can't marry you? Well, no, because he wasn't.
Yeah. This is the thing, when it comes to training as a celebrant, these situations aren't discussed, and we don't know what we would do in those situations unless they actually happen to us. So learning through others and knowing that, look, it will happen at some point in your career where someone will say, I don't want to marry this person, and you're going to have to manage that whole situation from sending one person away to notifying the guests, to notifying the staff, to then notifying the bride or groom or whoever is coming to say that this is not going to happen. There's going to be a lot of emotions and expectations. There's going to be, it's kind of like with those 8 emotions, there's going to be questioning, confusion, pain, anger, and you're probably going to be the brunt of it all. But
that's it. You be the brunt of it all, but I'll say it again, be the calming influence as much as you can. I'm so sorry that this has happened, but be very firm. but calm.
And clear about it.
And very clear about it.
And to add to that is make sure that there is something within your contract with your clients that protects you, because you don't want to have been there, done all the work, gotten to the day, printed all the certificates, given everything, the wedding not to happen, and then for you to be accountable in financial reimbursement for not fulfilling your role when it had nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
And you've worked already for that day.
Yeah.
So there's a few little things to think about in that situation of what you would do, but I think this is a really good topic, maybe even going forward in the future, that we start to bring up. What would you do if? And if you have had something, or you've thought something that might happen at some point and you want us to have a little chat about it, or maybe provide our feedback, or if it has actually happened to us, let us know.
Yeah, reach out for sure, because there's lots of different things that have happened along the way over my, 16, 17 years that, you know, some things I would change, I would do a bit differently. Other things I'm like, no, I'm glad I did that.
Yeah.
That's where I stand. I'm very firm about it. But yeah, it's experience.
I think I put it down to the years that I've been a celebrant. Sometimes I suppress things that happen. You forget about it. You really do, because you've moved on to the next thing as quickly. You don't have somebody to bounce off or talk about it with. You don't have a moment to be in that and to process everything that's happened. You'd like to reflect and think about how you would do things differently, but sometimes you just suppress it and move on. That was interesting. That might have affected my confidence in some way, but moving forward, this would be how I would do it. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. So we're here to help. So let us know if we can.
Please, absolutely.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Wedding Chronicles. I'm Laura.
And I'm Tarn.
And we'll catch up with you next time.
Very soon. Bye now.
Bye.